Dave Walsh, why don't you come talk to us about where the market's going and give us an update?
Good morning, all. Good morning. Okay, it's another lovely day in the Silicon Valley housing market, as you guys are all well aware. The pace hasn't really abated much, but we're going to talk about some of the trends that may be developing, and I emphasize the word "may be developing" because, quite frankly, we don't really know. I just read tea leaves like all of you guys do, but I just spend a lot of time doing it. So, we're going to talk about the ebbs and flows that are going on. Clearly, it's a strong housing market for most, but there's some definite sectors that are starting to show some weaknesses, and we'll highlight on those. Let me jump into the actual presentation here. And hopefully you guys can all see this. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so the numbers look a little bit bigger here. So this is my standard report that I do on a weekly basis. For you guys on a monthly basis. So this is as of last Sunday, of course. So I'll explain a little bit of it as we go along. We have 1,497 unsold properties as of the date I ran this report. That's up 51. So if, in the last 4 weeks, basically, in fact, since the last time I did a report for you guys, we had been declining in inventory. So we've been absorbing more than we were bringing to the marketplace. That was creating a vacuum, and as you all know, multiple offers on virtually everything, and it was getting a little hectic. And we had my fear was we had crested with our available supply, and we were simply going to go down for the balance of the year. So we went up 51 last week. What happened? I have no idea. All of a sudden we went up. So I don't think it's a trend. I think it was an abnormal week, and I won't know again until this Sunday, of course, when I do my next report. But I don't think the pace of selling houses is slowing. That's what I'm trying to say here in a long roundabout way. So 1,497 properties unsold, that's PUDs and single families combined. Our pendings are now at 1,408. That ticked up slightly as well. If you look back at a 30-day change, it really hasn't changed much. We were 1,496 properties for sale 30 days ago. So we're up one basically over the last 30 days. And that just shows you that the market's kind of leveling. We're selling just as many houses as we're bringing to the marketplace, right? So that's a good sign. In fact, quite frankly, our pendings pace is up 2%. So, this is very healthy. This is our spring. We all know that. This is our delayed spring. It's now mid-August. And who thunk we'd be talking about things like this in August, of course, right? So this date last year, just as a reflection, 1,872 properties. So our inventory is 20% below that. That's clearly, where we're going to sit for the balance of the year. I think our greatest delta was 26% lower than we were last year, but we're kind of we crested early last year and started pulling properties off the market because the market was very soft last fall, right? So we'll get closer to that number. I doubt we're going to get much above 1,500 available, so we may never actually catch last year's available supply, but that's okay. But look at our pendings. We're up 22%. So last year at this point in time, we had 1,156 homes under contract. 1,408 is much higher than that by 22. And that's a good sign, right? That just shows again how healthy our marketplace is. South County has 101 properties for sale. That's up 11 in a single week. The last 2 weeks, South County has just been on, last 2 weeks, South County had ridiculously low numbers. 88 2 weeks ago, 90 last week, and now 101 this week. So is that growing? No, it's going up, of course, but it's nowhere near where it was this time last year. We were over 200 properties for sale a couple weeks ago in South County, last year, right? So we're half of that right now. That's the pace, and that's how hot the entire South County, Morgan Hill, Gilroy, San Martin marketplace is, Area 1 in our MLS. Very strong, going to continue to be strong. Sales last week, you'll see there's 32 sales in a single week. That's low for what South County has been doing. They've been in 50s, they've been in 40s. They had 44 a couple weeks ago. They had 32 last week, 32 again this week. So here's my new delta, and this is a new piece of information I'm sharing with you guys. When I first started this report, this weekly report, it was predicated upon what our spring could have looked like, right? So I ran prior to the pandemic and the shutdown of our market. I ran what should have been a normal looking spring, and we were, for the first 6 months of this year, we were comparing it to what our spring should have looked like. And so, I'm showing you how strong the marketplace was, even though we weren't making those kind of sales that we had done last year. Well, now I took the first 6 months of this year. So now that number on the right, the green number under that 32, the 19 in South County's case, is how many homes we've averaged per week from the first of the year through the end of June. So now that's our benchmark. And you can still see how strong South County is. So, and in fact, you're going to see how strong the rest of the marketplace is compared to the first 6 weeks of first 6 months of the year. All I'm showing you is data that you already know. This market's strong, it's hot, it's going to continue, in my estimation, to last for a period of time. We'll talk about how long in a little bit here. But what I'm saying is guess what? We're in the heyday of a very healthy marketplace. And again, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Santa Teresa is sitting at 21 properties. Sales last week, 8. That's actually low for, it did beat the 6-month average, but it's still kind of low for Santa Teresa. They've been on fire as well. Evergreen, definitely one of the stronger marketplaces, down to 37 properties available in the entire Evergreen marketplace. And when you realize that covers every price point, Evergreen has some very inexpensive properties, but also some very high-end properties as well, price point wise. So only 37 properties in that huge geographic area is just really scarce, right? So 12 sales last week. They had been doing more. Again, just a slight easing, I think, in that Evergreen area. Milpitas still red hot. 13 sales last week. 7 is their average. So Milpitas just continues to just, be a strong bellwether marketplace. Santa Clara, there's no finer market in the valley right now for consistency. As you've heard me say from day one of the pandemic explanations I've been explaining to you guys, Santa Clara never slowed down, and it still hasn't. Santa Clara is strong. It's been strong. They average 14 sales a week. They're at 25 this last week. I just can't tell you enough positive things. You've got a listing in Santa Clara, you're going to get a lot of activity, a lot of interest. And again, it's definitely the marketplace to have a listing right now. 63 properties for sale there. Central San Jose, another, it's almost mirroring the Santa Clara marketplace. Downtown Rose Garden, 61 properties. They did tick up 10 in a single week. That's not a bad thing. Central San Jose has been so strong for such a long period of time that they had to add inventory. So that's not a bad thing. They'd gotten down to 51. So that's good. 14 sales last week. Willow Glen, same story, very strong. Although Willow Glen seems to have calmed a little bit. 13 sales last week. They have 66 available properties. Willow Glen had been red hot. And then, again, everything's relative, but some of the stronger bellwether marketplaces, they've been in 23 sales, 24 sales a week. 22 sales a week, right? So 13 is not bad. It's definitely above the average, and it could be just a slight hiccup and a slowdown. Blossom Valley, what can I tell you? The market is very strong in Blossom Valley. You know that. 33 properties is nowhere near enough for the demand for properties in Blossom Valley. If you've got something, you can bring it on. People are going to be all over it. And if you have a Blossom Valley listing, you know what I'm talking about. 20 sales last week. That's off what Blossom Valley typically has been producing. It's been producing like 26, 28, 30 sales a week, right? 13 is their average for the first 6 months of the year. But I'm telling you, Blossom Valley, if you can get something in that market, you're going to sell it very quickly. Almaden Valley, Almaden Valley does its own thing. So this is the only marketplace that underperformed, if you can call making 5 sales, underperforming their 6-month average. And that's an anomaly. Almaden Valley's been 7, 8, 12, 15. Not 15 was, I think, the high. So more around the 8 to 10 every week, kind of plugging along. Almaden Valley does its own thing. There's 30 properties for sale out there. That's up 3. 27 was really low. So they had to add some inventory to the marketplace. Has it cooled? No, it's not cooled. I mean, at this point in time, typically, Almaden may have 40 to 50 houses for sale. So 30 is really low, in the grand scheme of how you look at availability in Almaden. Cambrian, red hot still, 21 sales last week in Cambrian. Their inventory continues to decline, down 7, now sitting at 37 available properties in Cambrian. Very strong marketplace in Santa Clara County. And I know I'm repeating myself. I can't tell you, there's not a weak area right now. So I sound like I'm saying the same thing over and over again. I probably am. Campbell, same thing, 38 sales, down 15 in a single week, right? So huge demand for Campbell, 18 sales last week. 11 is their average. Los Gatos had a great week, 17 sales in Los Gatos. That's expensive real estate, folks. So any way you look at it, that's a lot of people investing a lot of money. We'll talk about that in a second here too. They're at 59 properties for sale in Los Gatos. That's down 5. Saratoga just plugging along, doing its same old thing Saratoga always does, 45 active properties. That's up just 1. Their 6-month average is 4. They did 7. Saratoga's been 8s and 10s and 12s. 7's, again, a very healthy number for Saratoga. Remember the first probably 2 months of the pandemic. So let's say March and in most of April, Saratoga was only getting 2 sales, onesie, twosies, maybe 3. In fact, I think Saratoga even had a week where they didn't make a single sale, right? So clearly that market's back. And people are investing in the higher end markets of our valley. Cupertino, same story, 11 sales last week. There's only 24 properties in all of Cupertino. Sunnyvale, I don't need to say anything about Sunnyvale. You know how strong that marketplace is. They did add 9 properties to their available supply. 14 sales last week, very healthy. Mountain View, 14 sales. And Palo Alto, 13 sales. So Palo Alto, it's been kind of like the Saratoga of the world, where the real estate's very expensive and it doesn't always turn fast. So their 7 is their average. They did 13 sales. That may be, I think maybe I remember a week of maybe Palo Alto selling 16, but 13 is fairly high for Palo Alto. So very healthy marketplace, very strong. Like I said at the beginning, there isn't a single area of Santa Clara County that's not healthy right now and with high buyer demand. Here's some data, and we're going to talk about what these numbers mean here. Percentage of Class 1s under contract, 53.4%. Last week it was 54.3%. That's a slight downtick, so almost a 1% change, nothing significant. But I do want to talk about, and I'll go back to that in a second here, but I want to talk about Class 2s. So our Class 2s last week were 39.2%. This week, 38.9%. So Class 2s, are somewhat of a fragile segment of our marketplace. And this is one of the things I want to talk about just briefly. So I went back and I looked, where was our crest of the highest percentage of Class 2s under contract? And I had to go all the way back to March 1st. So March 1st, we had almost 70% of our PUDs under contract. So we had 68.1%, if I remember my numbers correctly, 68.1% of our PUDs under contract. So what's happened since? A straight downward trend. So what am I saying? Well, what I'm saying here is that a lot of people have been bringing PUDs to the marketplace, and the absorption is just not the same pace as single families. Now that's not rocket science. You guys, if you've been in this marketplace at all for any length of time, you know how much there's a much stronger demand for single families. There always has been in our county. But the truth is that we're now sitting at roughly 600 unsold PUDs. So what's the moral of the story? Well, at the same time, in March 1st, when I went back and looked at single families, we had roughly 56% of our single families under contract in March 1st. We did drop as the pandemic hit, but we've climbed right back up. So we're right back in the 50s. So 50% of our single families are under contract. Very healthy, very strong. It ping pongs between roughly 52 and 56% at any given point in time. Virtually full recovery. Not the case with our PUDs. So be careful. Be careful in bringing these to the marketplace, and be careful with your pricing structures, because that's what this is really all about. We wouldn't have only 38.9% of these under contract if the buyers were out throwing large sums of money that direction, right? I mean, that's quote unquote affordable housing in Santa Clara County, but still there's reasons people aren't buying it. And of course, the obvious is the density, right? So there's a little bit of a maybe fear factor around people living so close to each other right now and buying in high density complexes, right? So I know that in San Francisco, the most fragile segment of the housing market in San Francisco are those high-rise apartment complexes right now. They're just not getting activity. They're not getting any interest because people don't want to ride in elevators. They don't want to, be saddled with that concept of being high density. Now they're thinking, larger urban areas spread out, which is why probably South County is so hot, right? So people want more space around them, more open area, et cetera. So again, all I'm saying is there's a clear trend. If I showed you in a chart, you'd see the graph. They've kind of fallen off out of favor. That's what I'm trying to say. So be careful in your pricing of single families, of your PUDs. Here's our single family. Yeah.
Pam Foley has a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Pam.
Thanks, Dave. While you were talking about the PUDs, I just had a question for you. How much of that increase in the market or lack of sales in that market is related to them being rental properties and the concerns of rental and payments and moratoriums on evictions and that sort of thing? What's CAR, or what are your thoughts about that?
We are seeing pushback on that, Pam. Thanks. It's a great question. I just saw a report that came out. Let's see, it was July numbers. So fairly recent on this. In the first time in 4 months, we said a slight uptick in rents in California, and the uptick was $2. So we're not talking a huge uptick, but it reversed a 4-month trend of declining rents. Now, again, does 1 month mean that we've kind of turned that corner and the rental market is going to be coming back? I don't think so. I think Pam's right. I think there's a little fear here. I think the investor mentality is a little on the sidelines right now, thinking about, well, gee, what is going to happen with rent control? What's going to happen with the eviction moratoriums? What's going to happen with me being able to actually get rents in a marketplace? So these could all be factors, right? Again, I think there's just a lot of evolution in this demand for the PUD marketplace. So, and it's probably coming from several factors. Let me wrap this up. And is that okay, Pam?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, let me wrap this up and we'll get into any other questions at the end. So single families under contract, if you look at 2019, 18, and 16, we had less homes under contract. So this is the best year in 5 years, or second best year in 5 years, you guys, for actually selling single families. Very strong, very healthy. Here's our raw data numbers that I kick out: 896 actives and single families, 601 PUDs. And you can see that trend upward. It started at roughly 200, 250 way back in March, and it's continued to climb ever since. Our new sales, 315. That's our new delta, you guys. If we're making 300 sales a week, countywide, all price points, that's great. We were in the 200s back in March. We were actually had gone as low as, I think, 98 1 week way back when the pandemic first hit. So clearly we're healthy, we're strong, we're 300 sales a week. That's our new norm. Withdrawals and canceled, only 50 last week. That just means people are confident in the marketplace. They're going to get their number. They're sticking around. Vacant properties in the market now 711. Here's something I wanted to show you real quick. This is a graphic that the California Association of Realtors puts together for every city in our county, right? So this is a June 2020 report. This is available to you. It's just data that you can put together in either a PowerPoint, or you can put it out on your social media. You can use this stuff, and it changes. Obviously, it changes monthly. It's very simple to explain. 11 days is the average days on market. This is county-wide. 1.38 million now is our median sales price. We had 859 sales. That is off 1.4% from last year, but that's nothing, quite frankly. Again, this is a month-over-month comparison to last year, right? Active listings, as I said earlier, down 30%. So why would you want to do this? Well, because this is great stuff that you guys can use, and I'll show you how to do that in a second here. Here's Campbell, here's Morgan Hill, here's Santa Clara. I just pulled random communities of our valley, right? And then I pulled Las Gatos, right? So these graphics can be put together by you guys, and I'm going to show you how to do it. I think when I will send this report, by the way, I'll send it into SCORE so SCORE can post it accordingly. But here's the magic link. It is right here. Housing market, see our June 2020 city county snapshots, housing market overview. You click on this link, and in a perfect world, it takes you to this. And that's going to pop up, and it's going to show you, here's your housing market overview for the entire state. This is now available as a member benefit to all of you guys. You can pull up virtually any community in the state, and you can see what's happening. So this happens to default to Los Angeles County. You drop the Santa Clara County in here. It's in here. If I could spell correctly, I'll find it for you real quick here. Here you go. Here's Santa Clara County. And now it all of a sudden changes to all of our community here. Here's all the different communities. You can get it in Instagram format for your social media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can click on this link right here, and voila, here is your Santa Clara County. If this works properly, report right in front of you. Here you go. So again, you can make these, you can copy these, you can put them into your emails, you can send them out to your clients, and you can keep going. You can pick a different community in the state, and you're off to the races. So it is that simple. Hopefully you guys will be able to take advantage of this. Let's look real quick. Let's just jump into San Jose itself. You can pull up, here's the Facebook or PowerPoint format for, oops, there we go, for San Jose. And you can see this is the month of June in a snapshot for San Jose. Again, just kind of a fun thing. It's put together for you now. I believe it's going to be an ongoing product that's available to you guys. And you now all have a link to that. And Don, that is your market update.
All right. Thank you very much, Dave.